They often say that living alone in your later years is peaceful, quiet, freeing. You wake when you want, eat what you like, no one to answer to. And that's true, but only partly. Because there's a side to living alone that people don't talk about. Not out loud, anyway. It's not just about silence and solitude. It's about the in-between moments. The ones filled with unexpected lessons, quiet courage, and changes you only understand when you're living through them. And if you're here, maybe you know exactly what I mean. This isn't just my story. It's a collection of voices. Stories from people around the world who've shared what it really feels like to grow older on your own. Some parts are difficult, some are beautiful, all of them are real. So wherever you are, maybe in your favorite chair, maybe making a cup of tea, take a breath. You're not alone here. Let's have a heart-to-heart about the things they don't tell you about living alone as an older person. Because you deserve the truth, the comfort, and the quiet strength that comes from knowing someone else understands. One of the first things that really hits you when you're living alone is the quiet realization that if something goes wrong, you're the only one there. No one's in the next room to hear a fall. No one's around to say, "Hey, you don't look so good. Maybe sit down." And that's not meant to scare you. It's just something most people don't talk about until they've lived it. I remember reading about a woman who started taking her phone into the bathroom with her. Not to scroll, but in case she slipped and couldn't get back up. At first, it might sound a little extreme, but the more you think about it, it's smart. It's not about fear, it's about being ready. Things like a smartwatch with a fall detector, a medical alert button you wear around your neck, even a lockbox outside your door with a key inside. So a friend, neighbor, or paramedic can get in quickly if something ever happens. These aren't signs of weakness, they're signs of wisdom. Because living alone doesn't mean pretending you're invincible. It means thinking one step ahead and making choices that protect your peace of mind. And truthfully, when you have those things in place, you don't worry as much. You can go about your day, cook your meals, take your showers, and sleep at night, knowing that if the unexpected happens, you're still not completely alone. You've taken care of yourself in the best way you can, and that's something to be proud of. So yes, being prepared for emergencies is part of living alone. But there's something else that can sneak up on you, even more quietly. Loneliness. And I'm not just talking about feeling lonely during the holidays or on your birthday. I'm talking about the slow, quiet kind. The kind that shows up in the spaces between meals, in the sound of an empty room, or when you realize you haven't said a single word to anyone in days. Now, if you're like many older folks I've spoken to, you might be thinking, "But I've always loved my solitude. I'm an introvert. I enjoy the quiet." And that's fair. Solitude can be beautiful. It's peaceful. It's yours. But even the most private people eventually admit something surprising. The silence can get loud. One gentleman I read about said he went 3 full days without hearing the sound of another person's voice. He didn't mind the quiet at first, but by the end of day 3 it felt like the walls were closing in. And then there was a woman who adopted a cat. Not because she was lonely, she said, but because she missed the simple feeling of someone being happy to see her come home. It's those little things. A smile across the room, someone asking how your day was, even just sharing a laugh over nothing. Those are the moments that keep the heart open. Now here's the gentle truth. Companionship doesn't have to mean a crowded house. It might be a furry friend waiting at the door. It might be a daily call with your daughter, or an old friend. It could be saying hello to your neighbor when you pick up the mail. Because loneliness rarely barges in, it tiptoes. And sometimes we don't realize we've been feeling it until it's already settled into the corners of our heart. So if you've been feeling it, please know that you're not the only one. And more importantly, you're not stuck there. Make the call. Join the group. Wave at someone. Open your door to something new. Even just a little. Because connection doesn't have to be big or loud. Sometimes the smallest moments can fill the biggest spaces. Now, while we're talking about what it really feels like to live alone, let's talk about something a lot of people don't mention until it starts piling up. Taking care of the house. When we're younger, chores are just part of the routine. A little annoying maybe, but manageable. But as the years go by, those same chores can start to feel like mountains. Cleaning the gutters, dragging the trash bin down the driveway, changing a ceiling light bulb, or fixing a leaky faucet. These tasks that once took a few minutes now take energy you don't always have to give. I remember a woman online who shared her home to-do list. She had pages of small fixes and big projects, but she said most of them just sat there, untouched. Not because she didn't care, not because she was lazy, but because it was just too much to tackle alone. And let me tell you something, friend. There's no shame in that. If this sounds familiar to you, you're not alone. And you're not failing. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is ask for help. Maybe it's hiring someone for the heavy stuff. Maybe it's your nephew coming by once a month. Maybe your neighbor helps with the yard and you bake them a pie in return. And if the house just feels too big, too full of things you don't use anymore, maybe it's time to ask yourself, do I really need all this space? There's a quiet kind of peace that comes with letting go of what no longer serves you. A smaller home, a cozier space, fewer things to clean and worry about. It's not about downsizing your life, it's about right-sizing it, so you have more energy for the things that actually matter. Because your time and your strength, they're precious. Spend them where your joy lives. After handling emergencies on your own, after facing stretches of silence and trying to keep up with housework, something begins to stand out. It's the rhythm of your day. The little things. The things no one else might even notice. When you live alone, and there's no one to share schedules with, no one asking what's for dinner or want to go for a walk, your routine becomes your rhythm. And it matters more than most people realize. For some, it's morning coffee by the window, the sunlight warming your hands as you cradle the mug. For others, it's an afternoon walk, the same path, same time, just to breathe, stretch, and feel the world moving around you. One gentleman shared how he waters his garden every evening, not just to care for the plants, but because it gives him peace. It gives his day a gentle close. And I remember reading about a woman in her 70s who plays the same soft song each morning while she makes breakfast. She said it fills her quiet kitchen with warmth, like an old friend saying good morning. See, these aren't silly habits. They're not routines for the sake of being busy. They're anchors. They give your day structure, a sense of meaning, and something to look forward to. And no, routines don't have to be strict or boring. They can be as small as lighting a candle before bed or watching your favorite show with a cozy blanket. What matters is how they make you feel. Grounded, steady, safe. In a life where so much has changed, these simple daily rituals become the heartbeat of your day. And the beautiful thing? They're completely yours. And then there's this quiet moment. When the house is still, your stomach starts to rumble, and you realize you're cooking just for you. No one to ask, what sounds good for dinner? No one to cook with or for? At first it can feel strange. Meals used to be an event, something shared, something lively. Now, it's just you. And when that happens, it's easy to fall into the habit of grabbing something quick. Microwave meals, takeout, or maybe skipping it altogether. Because you start thinking, why go through all the effort just for me? But here's the gentle truth. You are worth the effort. One woman I came across shared how she flipped the way she looked at cooking. She stopped thinking of it as a chore. Instead, she turned it into an act of care. She started batch cooking on Sundays, making hearty soups and casseroles that lasted through the week. She tried out new recipes, even bought herself a pretty plate she loved using. And the best part? She set the table, even when it was just her. Because feeding yourself well isn't just about staying full. It's a message you send to yourself. I matter. My health matters. My joy matters. And that's powerful. You don't have to cook gourmet meals. Start small. Make one dish that makes you smile. Play music while you stir the pot. Light a candle while you eat. Turn mealtime into your time. Because when you live alone, even the smallest rituals can become deeply meaningful. And nourishing yourself, mind, body, and soul, is one of the most beautiful ways to remind yourself that you are still very much alive and still deserving of love, especially from yourself. And after dinner's done, the dishes put away, there it is again, the quiet. Sometimes it feels like a soft blanket, wrapping you in calm after a long day. No interruptions, no distractions, just stillness. But other times, that silence isn't so kind, especially in the evenings when the house feels a little too empty and the shadows on the walls seem longer than usual. That's when the quiet starts to echo, bringing up memories or a feeling you can't quite name. One woman I read about said she always keeps the radio playing softly in the background, just enough to remind her that she's not alone in the world. Another man fills his days with podcasts, not because he's trying to learn something new, but because having voices in the room makes it feel a little warmer. And that's okay. Sometimes we need to fill the silence with something. Music, stories, a favorite movie, a phone call, laughter. Other times, silence is exactly what we need. A moment to breathe, to think, to let our hearts catch up. The beauty of living alone is that you get to decide when quiet is healing and when it's time to break it. There's no right or wrong here. So turn on a playlist if it lifts your spirit. Call a friend just to hear a voice, or sit in the silence and let it comfort you like an old friend. Because in this chapter of life, you don't have to escape the quiet. You just have to learn how to live with it. On your terms. Now here's something no one really warns you about. When you live alone, movement stops being automatic. There's no one reminding you to take a walk. No partner asking, "Want to go out for some fresh air?" And before you know it, you find yourself sitting more than you used to. Resting longer than you meant to. Maybe skipping that afternoon stroll altogether. One gentleman shared that he didn't notice how sedentary he'd become until one morning, his back ached just getting out of bed, not from an injury, but simply from too much stillness. Another woman made a choice. She adopted a dog, not just for companionship, but because dogs have to go outside. They need the walk, and now, so does she. That small commitment changed her rhythm. It got her moving again. And here's the good news. You don't need a gym or fancy equipment. Movement doesn't have to be big. It just needs to be consistent. Stretch when you wake up. Dance a little while you wash the dishes. Take the long way around the block. Walk to the corner store instead of driving. Even standing up and reaching for the sky, holding that stretch and breathing deeply, can make your body say, "Thank you." Because the truth is, your body remembers movement, and it misses it when it's gone. The more you move, the better you feel, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You don't need to keep up with anyone else's pace. Just find your own. Keep your body in motion and trust that your spirit will follow. Here's something else that often surprises people. Not right away, but slowly, over time. Your sense of time starts to shift. When you live with others, the day has shape. There are meals to cook at certain times, appointments to keep, even just small moments like a knock on the door or the sound of traffic at the same hour every day. But when it's just you and your schedule is fully your own, time becomes soft. Days blend together. Weeks pass without markers. Sometimes they fly by. Other times, they feel like they stretch on forever. One man shared in a forum that after his retirement and the loss of his wife, he would honestly forget whether it was Monday or Thursday. And truthfully, that's not uncommon. It's not something to feel bad about, but it is something to notice. Because having a rhythm to your week, even a gentle one, can bring comfort and clarity. You might choose to do your grocery shopping every Tuesday, laundry on Fridays, call a loved one every Sunday afternoon, not to box yourself in, but to give your days a little shape. It's not about being strict. It's about creating touch points, moments that help you look forward to something. Maybe you plant flowers on the first Saturday of the month, or cook a favorite meal on Wednesday nights. Even something as small as setting your bedtime routine can help anchor you in the flow of time. Because when your time is truly your own, you get to design it. And that, my friend, is one of the quiet gifts of living alone. Now here's something that might surprise you. Letting go of stuff becomes both easier and harder when you live alone. Easier because the decisions are yours and yours alone. No more back and forths about what to keep, what to toss, or what someone else is attached to. But harder because every item in your home tells a story. And those stories live in your heart. A photo of someone long gone, a little figurine from a trip taken decades ago, a sweater that no longer fits, but once belonged to someone you loved. Letting go of these things doesn't feel like cleaning. It can feel like saying goodbye, sometimes for the second or third time. One woman shared something that stuck with me. She said, "It's just me. So who does it hurt to keep it?" And she's right. You don't need anyone's permission to hold on to what brings you comfort. But then she said something else. Do I really want to leave all this for someone else to sort through? That's when the meaning shifts. Decluttering doesn't have to be cold or rushed. It's not about getting rid of your life. It's about choosing what parts of it still speak to you now. You don't have to become a minimalist. You don't have to empty every drawer. But you can begin gently. One box, one shelf, one memory at a time. Keep what brings you joy. Pass along what might bless someone else. Let go of what no longer fits the person you are today. There's peace in that. There's clarity. And maybe, just maybe, there's also freedom, the kind that makes your space feel lighter and your heart a little more at ease. As the years go by, you might start to notice something that catches you off guard. The phone rings less often, not because people don't care, but because life happens. Friends get busy, some move away, others slow down or grow into their own routines, sometimes without even realizing they've left you out. And I won't sugarcoat it. That can sting. It can feel like you've been forgotten. But here's the truth, gently spoken. It's not always personal. One woman shared something I'll never forget. She said she used to sit by the phone, waiting for someone to reach out. And after enough silent weekends, she realized something. If no one's calling, maybe it's time I make the call. So she did. She invited a neighbor for coffee, started a tiny book club at her house, just 3 people at first, and even put together a Sunday walking group in her neighborhood. And you know what happened? People came. People laughed. And slowly, She became the one who brought joy back into the circle. When you create the fun, you don't just fill your own calendar, you give others permission to join in. So don't be afraid to be the one who calls first. Be the one who says, "Come on over. Let's meet for lunch. Want to watch a movie together?" Because connection doesn't have to come to you. Sometimes you build it yourself. And when you do, you'll be amazed how quickly others respond. Not just because they need it too, but because they've been waiting for someone, just like you, to bring the light back in. And finally, let's talk about something that can quietly slip away when you're living alone. Taking care of yourself. Now, I'm not talking about fancy spa days or new clothes. I mean the little things. Getting out of bed and putting on real clothes, making a warm breakfast instead of skipping it, washing your face, brushing your hair, even when no one's coming over. When no one else is there to notice, it's easy to let those small routines fall away. And suddenly, days start to blur. You realize you've eaten cereal for dinner 3 nights in a row. The pajamas you put on Monday night are still on Thursday morning. It happens more often than people admit. One man shared that he caught himself living on autopilot. No rhythm, no care, just passing time. And when he saw it clearly, he made a quiet promise to himself to start treating himself with the same care he'd give someone he loved. So he began lighting candles in the evening. He cooked small meals that felt thoughtful, even if simple. He read good books under soft blankets, not just to pass the time, but to feel alive in it. Because self-care isn't about vanity. It's about dignity. It's about reminding yourself, I matter. I'm still here. I'm still worth showing up for. And the beautiful thing? You don't need an audience to do that. You don't need anyone to see it, except you. So get dressed in the morning, even if you're not going anywhere. Cook meals that feel good to eat. Play music while you tidy up. Pamper yourself in the smallest ways, whatever brings you comfort and joy. Because this life you're living, it's your life. And you deserve to live it feeling well, feeling cared for, and feeling whole. Living alone as an older person is a path filled with quiet strength. Yes, it has its challenges, moments of stillness, of solitude, of figuring things out on your own. But it also holds something powerful, freedom. The freedom to shape your days, your space, your rhythm. The wisdom to know when to let go, and the grace to ask for help when needed. You learn to care for yourself, not because someone else is watching, but because you deserve it. So hold close the routines that bring you peace. Keep your body moving, your heart open, and your spirit light. Fill your days with purpose, no matter how small. And if today feels quiet, just remember, you are not alone. There's a quiet community of others, walking this road right alongside you, step by step. If this message touched your heart, give it a thumbs up, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more gentle stories and golden advice. Until next time, take good care of yourself. You're doing better than you think.